The part that I'm going to read you is one where he's a bit younger. He used to do some really capricious things, and it's hard to know where to start. But after this, again, he went through the village, and a lad ran and knocked against his shoulder. Jesus was exasperated and said to him, "You shall not go further on your way," and the child immediately fell down and died. But some who saw what took place said, "From where does this child spring, since his every word is an accomplished deed?" And the parents of the dead child came to Joseph and blamed him and said, "Since you have such a child, you cannot dwell with us in the village, or else teach him to bless or not curse, for he is slaying our children." Talk about getting rid of your playmates. And Joseph called the child aside and admonished him, "Why do you do such things, that these people suffer and hate us and persecute us?" But Jesus replied, "I know that these words are not yours. Nevertheless, for your sake, I will be silent. But they shall bear their punishment." And immediately those who had accused him became blind. And those who saw it were greatly afraid and perplexed, and concerning him, every word he speaks, whether good or evil, was a deed and became a marvel. And when Joseph saw that Jesus had so done, he arose and took him by the ear and pulled it hard. And the child was angry and said to him, "It is not sufficient for you to seek and not to find, and most unwisely have you acted. Do you not know that I am yours? Do not vex me," said the child. In chapter 19 of the infancy narrative, Thomas tells the story of Jesus in the temple. When he was 12 years old, his parents went, according to the custom, to Jerusalem to the feast of the Passover with their company. And after the Passover, they returned to their house. And while they were returning, the child Jesus went back to Jerusalem. But his parents supposed that he was in the company. And when they had gone a day's journey, they sought him among their kinsfolk. And when they did not find him, they were troubled, and returned again to the city, seeking him. And after the third day they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to the law, and asking them questions. And all paid attention to him, and marveled how he, the child, put to silence the elders and teachers of the people, expounding the sections of the law and the sayings of the prophets. And his mother Mary came near and said to him, "Why have you done this to us, child? Behold, we have sought you sorrowing." Jesus to them, "Why do you seek me? Do you not know that I must be about the things of my Abba Father?" But the scribes and the Pharisees said, hear this, "Are you the mother of this child?" And she said, "I am." And they said to her, "Blessed are you among women, because the Lord has blessed the fruit of your womb. For such glory and such excellence and wisdom we have never seen nor heard." And Jesus arose and followed his mother, and was subject to his parents. But his mother kept in her heart all that had taken place. And Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and grace. To him be glory forever and ever. Amen. Luke and Thomas share the same source material for their stories. That heretical, this canonical. The story of the boy, the story of the 12-year-old boy who went to the temple, discovered something about himself in 5 days alone at the temple. He discovered something about his relationship to God, something about the umbilical cord that connected him to God, that spiritual cord, that divine cord that connected him to God. He discovered that day. But 18 years later is the next time we hear about this child. 18 years. What happened to the 12-year-old boy who, on the day of his confirmation in the temple, discovered who he was and how he was to be, what he was destined to be. 18 years later, he shows up again. What this story tells me is a story that is like all of our journeys. None of us was absolutely sure about our faith on the day of our confirmation. None of us was absolutely sure about our faith on the day of our baptism. None of us was absolutely sure about our connection with God and how God would lift us up or how God would direct us in our lives. None of us was sure. And you know what? I find it very, very comforting that Jesus was not either. I find it very, very comforting that he discovered something wonderful about himself in those 5 days in Jerusalem alone, but that it took 18 years for him to come to the place of being someone who understood his mission. 18 years of searching, 18 years of journeying, 18 years of discovery. And as we will learn in the weeks ahead, that discovery was something that had to do with reforming what was. He had been brought up in the Jewish law. He was devout. His parents were devout. He was one who adored being in the temple, spending time in the temple, learning and studying. But during the next 18 years, his journey would lead him to a place of understanding that something needed to change. How many of us can, like Jesus, talk about 18 years of searching in our lives? How many of us have gotten stuck somewhere in our 12-year-old theology? We are invited, by being members of the church, we are invited to constantly explore, to take the journey, to discover who we are and what our destiny is. Because like Jesus, we all have destinies as followers of the Christ. Perhaps it is reform. Perhaps it is revitalization. Perhaps it is something completely and wondrously new. We are invited to make the connection, to confirm our faith, as Jesus did at the age of 12. Today, I invite you to confirm your faith in a completely new way. I invite you to start taking a look at the journey you have made all of these years of your life and look anew at what you think and what you know and what you believe. Find out what is at the core of your being. Discover, like Jesus, that divine cord that connects you to God.